Welcome back to Silent Conspiracy. Picture this. May 2000, Brooklyn, New York. FBI agents surround a man waiting outside a bank, just another immigrant trying to cash a check, or so it appears. But the man they're arresting isn't who his ID says he is. He isn't Venezuelan Juan Carlos Sanchez Pinto Clayson. He's an American James Kennedy or Alexander Lopez. He's Sanjay Sharma from New Delhi. And behind his trail of false identities lie 3 murdered wives across 3 continents. 2 countries hunting him as a fugitive, and a pattern so calculated it turned marriage certificates into death warrants. Tonight, the story of India's most notorious international serial killer, a man who weaponized wedding vows, collected insurance policies like trophies, and almost escaped justice by becoming someone new every time suspicion closed in. Sanjay Sharma's story begins ordinarily enough in 1969 New Delhi, born into a family with 4 children where he was the second son. His older brother Anil became his hero, especially after Anil was sent to boarding school when Sanjay was just 5 years old. That separation planted seeds of ambition mixed with inadequacy that would define Sanjay's life, always chasing his brother, his success, always feeling one step behind, always hungry for the validation that seemed to come so easily to Anil. When Anil moved to New York City and built a successful business career, Sanjay dropped out of school and followed him to America in search of his own fortune. The American dream he found wasn't glamorous. He worked at an electronics store, in a grocery store, living first with his brother and then with friends. Anil later described him as a hard worker, but hard work alone wasn't delivering the wealth and status Sanjay craved. What he needed was a shortcut, and he found it in the form of 20-year-old Cecilia Montuano, an Ecuadorian immigrant he met while working in New York. They married in 1992, and in 1993 Cecilia gave birth to a son, Alexander, at Queen's Hospital Center. On paper, Sanjay Sharma had achieved the American dream: wife, child, steady income. But the facade crumbled quickly. The marriage became marked by frequent scandals and threats, serious enough that Cecilia sought a restraining order from the courts. Sharma's response wasn't reconciliation or reflection, it was flight. He abandoned his wife and infant son and fled back to India without divorcing Cecilia, leaving behind his first family like a snake shedding skin. Back in India, Sharma needed to reinvent himself, and he found the perfect stage for his next performance: flights between New Delhi and Mumbai. During these trips, he met 23-year-old Razi Singh, a flight attendant for Jet Airways. To her, he presented himself as an NYPD officer, a lie so audacious it revealed his complete comfort with deception. Razi's family saw through the charade and treated him with suspicion, explicitly forbidding their daughter from marrying this stranger with grand claims and no verification. But Sharma had learned that rules were obstacles to work around, not boundaries to respect. On July 8, 1997, he and Razi married secretly at a New Delhi temple without her family's knowledge. The mask dropped immediately after the wedding. Sharma became violently controlling, handcuffing Razi to the bed, forbidding contact with her parents, monitoring every phone call. Then came the demands: a car, a new house, and 1 million rupees in dowry. When Razi's family refused, Sharma's rage erupted into arson. He burned down the family home in a neighboring restaurant after threatening Razi's father, Sanwell, with a hammer. Police arrested Sharma and discovered he was carrying an illegal handgun. While he was detained for a week, Razi returned to her parents and made a horrifying discovery. Her husband's passport revealed he was already married to another woman in the USA. She wrote letters to Cecilia Montuano and local police, trying to expose Sharma's fraud. The letters went unanswered, and Sharma was released on bail before authorities connected the dots. He retrieved Razi and brought her to his mother's home in Rohini, where he allegedly began sedating her to prevent escape. This wasn't a marriage, it was captivity. On November 24, 1997, Sharma took out a $50,000 insurance policy on Razi's life through United India Insurance Company. Days later, he booked 2 tickets to Austria, where his sister and brother-in-law lived. They landed at Innsbruck Airport on November 30, 1997, and spent the next few days on excursions and shopping trips that appeared normal to Sharma's relatives. But on December 4th, while alone in the house, Razi decided to take a bath around 11 a.m. 90 minutes later, She was found dead in the bathtub with a hairdryer submerged in the water. Sharma claimed he'd been elsewhere in the house and discovered her after the accident. An Austrian coroner determined Razi died from electric shock and initially classified it as accidental, though investigators couldn't explain how the hairdryer ended up in the tub. Indian said investigators who knew the couple's troubled history weren't satisfied with the accident theory. Sharma cremated Razi's body in Austria and claimed he was transporting her ashes back to New Delhi. He mysteriously lost the urn during the trip, claiming the bag containing it was stolen, a claim that satisfied no one. On December 20th, 1997, Indian police arrested Sharma and charged him with murder. He spent 18 months in custody awaiting trial, but March 20th, 1999, provided the opportunity he'd been calculating. After a court hearing in New Delhi, Sharma bribed 2 police officers to drive him to his mother's house. From there, he vanished. His brother Anil called police when Sanjay attempted contact, and India declared him a fugitive. His photograph appeared in newspapers and on India's Most Wanted, but Sharma had already begun his most audacious transformation yet. Between March and August 1999, using fake identities including Alexander Lopez and James Kennedy, Sharma traveled through Bangladesh, Thailand, Hong Kong, Jamaica, Costa Rica, Brazil, Germany, and Austria. He was a ghost moving through international airports, a chameleon changing names like others change clothes. On August 27, 1999, he landed in Greenland, presenting himself as Venezuelan citizen Juan Carlos Sanchez Pinto. He befriended 2 local men who let him stay in their nuke apartment while he established his new identity. Days later, he met 23-year-old Carla Clayson, a divorced mother selling clothes in front of the Brugsons supermarket. She lived with her 2-year-old daughter Natuk. 14 days after meeting Juan Carlos Sanchez Pinto, the man who didn't exist, Carla married him. The pattern was repeating with terrifying precision. Find a vulnerable woman, create instant intimacy, marry quickly before questions arise. Problems surfaced immediately. Sharma disappeared for hours, allegedly having affairs with 2 gay men in Nuke. Rumors circulated about hashish smuggling. The marriage appeared designed not for love, but for a new surname and possibly a drug courier. Weeks later, Sharma bought an apartment in Esbjerg, Denmark, and moved Carla and Natuk there with him. On October 9, 1999, Sharma rented the Bacchus holiday home in Fanyu for a family vacation. 3 days later, he booked a one-way ticket to Ottawa, Canada, and left without his wife or stepdaughter. He never reported them missing. When questioned, he claimed they were in Venezuela. On February 8, 2000, a neighbor reported seeing a child's arm protruding from sand near a slope by the cottage. Police excavated Nedik's body and found Carla's corpse buried in a nearby tool shed. Forensic autopsy revealed Carla had suffered multiple head injuries while Nedikuk, with sand in her mouth, had been suffocated. Danish police charged Juan Carlos Sanchez Pinto Clayson with double murder, and Interpol issued an international warrant. Authorities initially believed Sharma was hiding in Copenhagen where he had contacts. In reality, he was in Long Island applying for a taxi driver's license under another false identity. The FBI, monitoring him for suspected illegal residency, had no idea they were watching one of India's most wanted fugitives in Denmark as suspected double murderer. On May 18, 2000, FBI agents arrested him outside a Brooklyn bank. When confronted, Sharma admitted Danish authorities wanted him for double homicide, but denied being the actual killer. He waived his right to a hearing and was extradited to Denmark. In June 2000, while awaiting trial, he attempted escape by setting fire to a cupboard in his cell, forcing evacuation of the entire prison block. The attempt failed, and he was transferred to maximum security in Horsens, where authorities feared he might take hostages. The trial revealed Sharma's complete emotional detachment. Witnesses testified that less than 2 hours after his wedding to Carla, Sharma had applied for residency and work permits. His gay lovers Torben and Jan Kavik confirmed that on his wedding night, they'd had a threesome with Sharma that was recorded on video. They testified he called Carla a big fat cow and showed no affection for her whatsoever. The marriage wasn't about love. It was about documentation, about becoming someone new, about having another identity to shed when the time came. Despite Sharma's claims of innocence and complaints about inadequate investigation, a 12-member jury found him guilty of both murders. He received mandatory life imprisonment in Denmark. His 2001 appeal to the Supreme Court was rejected. Since 2012, he's been eligible for parole but has never been approved. The investigation into Razi Singh's death in Austria remains technically open, though Sharma will never be extradited from Denmark to face those charges. His first wife, Cecilia Montalbano, and son Alexander live somewhere in the United States, their lives forever marked by the man who abandoned them. The true victim count may never be known how many other accidents or disappearances occurred during. Sharma S. travels through multiple countries under multiple identities. What transforms a man into a serial killer who weaponizes marriage? Sharma's pattern reveals calculation over passion, target vulnerable women, marry quickly, take out insurance policies, create fatal accidents, collect payouts, and disappear into a new identity. Each wife was a transaction, each marriage a murder plot disguised as romance. The case highlights how international borders create gaps where predators hide. Sharma exploited poor communication between countries, forged documents with relative ease in the pre-digital era, and understood that a man who constantly reinvents himself is nearly impossible to track. He was caught not through brilliant detective work, but through bureaucratic persistence, the FBI. Monitoring illegal residency, Interpol warrants finally catching up to his aliases, and forensic evidence from buried bodies that couldn't be explained away. In 2005, Sharma's girlfriend Ketty Anderson gave an interview to Extra Bladet asserting he was a scapegoat and promising to fight for his release. If freed, they would marry and move to Sweden, she claimed. The delusion is almost as chilling as the crimes. Another woman believing the lies, another potential victim saved only by prison bars. Sanjay Sharma sits in Danish prison today, a man with multiple names and a singular legacy of calculated violence. He represents a particular kind of killer, not driven by rage or psychotic break, but by cold pragmatism that views human beings as resources to exploit. Marriage certificates were his hunting licenses, wedding vows his method of securing access, and insurance policies his motive wrapped in ceremony. Share your thoughts on this case that spanned 3 continents and challenged international law enforcement cooperation. But remember, behind each statistic is a family destroyed by calculated betrayal. If this investigation into India's most notorious international serial killer held your attention, like this video, subscribe to Silent Conspiracy, and ring the bell for more cases where evil wears sophisticated disguises.